Hey everybody, good evening. This is Chief Meteorologist Brad Panovich. It is Tuesday, March 22nd, currently about 8:42 Eastern Daylight Time. You're looking at a storm system off to the west that we're keeping a close eye on for tomorrow. Now, this system has played havoc across Texas, Louisiana, into Mississippi, and tonight it's causing some big time issues in parts of Alabama. Now, I'm going to zoom in a little bit closer and you can see the movement as it heads in. I'm going to turn on the warnings though, because there are so many flash flood warnings with this system. Let me pause this briefly. And you can see we've got a couple tornado watch. So we've seen some tornadoes in this system. Not the same type of tornadoes we saw yesterday in Texas. Those were more supercellular. The kind of storms we've been seeing tonight have been kind of embedded in this main line. So it's becoming more of a squall line type system as it pushes to the east. So let me show you that severe weather outlook for tonight. You'll see that most of the areas where the storms are right now, that severe weather risk is in that high category. And notice the area that's kind of shaded in there. That is actually an area where we see significant severe weather risk. And that's what we're seeing tonight. Now, watch what happens as we go into tomorrow. The whole system shifts to the east. As it shifts to the east, though, the threat will weaken just a little bit because the energy goes up to the north and we start to see some of the energy kind of go to the south. So it starts to split a little bit. So we'll see it kind of weaken a little bit as we go into tomorrow. The one thing that should help us out, and the biggest question mark about tomorrow, is how much instability can we see pushing in from the south. That southerly flow is going to be key. So Tay says that the mountains will help. Not in this case. The mountains don't really impact anything in this situation because the storm is coming from the southwest and the moisture flow is coming in from the south. So the mountains actually don't protect us from this type of setup. The reason we're going to see weaker system tomorrow is really because the system is just the energy splitting a little bit. Now, a couple things I'm keeping an eye on is this potential of the low level moisture. And one of the things we look at often is something called wind shear and instability. This map right here shows that mid-level energy. This is energy that basically in the mid and upper levels of the atmosphere that causes rotating storms. Now, they tap into that rotating energy that you see spinning to the east tomorrow and then heading towards the Carolinas. And just ahead of it is where you see the severe storms. You need to have storms that form near the surface and build up into that layer of shear. To get that to happen, you need what we call CAPE. It's called convectively available potential energy. For short, I'll just call it thunderstorm fuel. It's basically warm, humid air at the surface. Last week, when we had some threats of strong storms around us, we didn't have any of this. We had none at all. Now, tomorrow, it's generally low, but if you look carefully, there are some spots where we do have some heightened areas, especially down in South Carolina, south of Lancaster. That area down there tends to be a little bit more CAPE to deal with. As I go into the future tomorrow, you see mid to late afternoon, that CAPE peaks and then it disappears, comes back a little bit with the front late Wednesday into Thursday, and then dissipates as it pushes off to the east. That helps produce the ingredients for tornadic storms if it's higher. And if we look at that tornado parameter, and again, this is just the ingredients for tornadoes, look at it at 2 o'clock tomorrow. You can actually see some areas from Hickory to Lincolnton down to Shelby close to a 1. Now, that's not super high, I'll be honest with you. That's really low. On a scale from 0 to 10, it's pretty low. But just goes to show you that basically tomorrow the threat for tornadoes isn't huge, but it's also not 0. It's basically around 5%, between 2 and 5%, depending where you are, of a tornado within 25 miles of your location. As we go into the afternoon, that fuel for tornadoes kinds of weakens and then pushes out. So you kind of see the timeline here. This is going to be middle of the afternoon into the evening hours. So let's look at the latest futurecast. And hopefully, I think I just reran this. So this should be the 8 o'clock run. See the southerly winds coming in? I'm going to stop this at around 8 a.m. So right there at 8 a.m., you see some light showers. I hope this happens because this light rain over the Piedmont would help remove some of that CAPE or low-level fuel. So if tomorrow morning you wake up and it's not raining and the clouds are thin, it doesn't have to be clear. It just has to be thinning clouds where the temperatures are warming up quickly. That will lead to more fuel for these storms. So as the storms push east, I'll play this out. You'll see they kind of developed around mid-morning. Some of those, especially to the south, start to get pretty active. And then look at this around 1 to 2 o'clock. You see these areas right in here. from Albemarle to Monroe, Indian Trail, Waxhaw, Weddington, Pineville, Matthews, Rock Hill, Fort Mill, Indian Land, down towards Lancaster, over towards Chester and Great Falls. That area right there is an area to watch. I think these storms back in the foothills, probably less of a severe weather risk because we won't have the time to warm up. And then we go into the late afternoon around 4 o'clock, look at the same areas from Highway 9 in South Carolina over to Cheraw, Rockingham, Southern Pines, maybe Albemarle, and then up towards the Raleigh area. We have to watch that area. So that's the area in general that probably has the highest potential. Let me grab my telestrator here. I got to pull up the telestrator here. So the area of greatest concern tomorrow, I'm going to circle it with my arrow here, right in here. This will be the area that I think is probably the highest probability tomorrow of seeing a severe thunderstorm, because that's where we'll have the potential for things to kind of perk up. So let's look at that tornado threat. Right now, this is as of tonight, as I'm doing this live stream. The threat for tornadoes tomorrow is basically going to be around 5%. Now, I get this question all the time, Brad, 5%, that doesn't seem very high, right? Well, remember, on an average day, the chance of a tornado is close to 0. So tomorrow, the chance of a tornado is about 5 times higher. So if it was a 1% chance on any given day, it's gone up to 5% tomorrow. That's a pretty significant increase. And also, unlike rain chances where the risk is getting caught out with an umbrella and getting wet, the risk here isn't getting wet. The risk is getting hit by a tornado. So the threat is much different than a 5% chance of rain. And there's a higher chance of rain just about every single day. So these probabilities, you got to be real careful that you don't treat them all the same, because the outcome isn't the same with each threat. The wind threat, just to show you, is actually much higher. The damaging wind threat is 15% tomorrow. So, overall, the risk for damaging winds is definitely much higher. So when you look at this map, or this chart, I should say, you see the overall risk for damaging winds is going to be in the medium range. That's the main reason we have it. And the tornado risk is still in the low category, but flooding is low as well. So those are the two that we've got to watch carefully as we go into tomorrow. Now, I don't think we're going to see anything like we've seen to our west. So this is not, on a scale from 0 to 4, 0 being nothing, 1 being low, 2 being medium, 3 being high, and 4 being extreme. Tomorrow is a low to medium threat. In Texas, Louisiana, and Mississippi tonight, it was a 3-4. It was in the medium high range. So, a couple categories higher. So this is not the same setup, even though it's the same storm system. I think everyone thinks, that thing's coming at us, we're going to see the same kind of setup. So let's look at the timeline. This will help you kind of plan your day tomorrow. You see the risk really starts, I think, late morning. I'm thinking 10, 11 at the earliest, but really around lunchtime going into the afternoon hours. And if I were to pick a peak time for severe weather, I'd say 1 p.m. to about 6 p.m. looks to be that time. Now, this is why you need to stay weather aware, because tomorrow, depending on what happens, if we start to see more humidity, more heat move in, or the system picks up speed, these can all change the timing and the impacts tomorrow. So right now, it's still, we're getting closer to the day where we kind of have a better idea, but it's still a day we say weather aware. The reason we say weather aware is just so that you're aware that there could be strong storms. You don't have to be, hunker down all day or to be changing plans. If you have any outdoor activities, you just have to have a plan and be ready for severe storms. And as always, we're getting into that severe weather time of year. I will preach this all the time. You need to have 3 ways to get warnings. And what do I mean by that? Well, at least 3 different ways. That includes your phone, and your phone can give you alerts several different ways. You can get them via wireless emergency alerts, which are already built into your phone. You just got to turn them on. Weather apps that alert you for your location, like the WCNZ app and our weather app, both of them have notifications. I highly recommend our news app, and I'm going to tell you why in a second here. It's got several features, but probably the number one feature is going to be alerts. Watching TV or a live stream, which you can do. That also includes social media with real-time notifications. So if I have my Twitter feed, you want to turn that on, have notifications. No weather radio, and set the alarm on. And then, believe it or not, from family and friends, I find that text messages and calls and direct messages from people you personally know tend to have a much bigger impact, especially for people, and we all have friends like this, that will have no idea there's a risk for severe weather tomorrow, even though we've been talking about it for 3 days. There's still people that don't know there's a war going on in Europe right now. There's just people that disconnect, and we all know who those are. So give them a heads up, be their friend, let them know. We might even have family members like that. Hey, tomorrow's not a normal day. These aren't regular storms that could develop during the afternoon. So speaking of the app, and I'm going to do a shameless plug here for our app. I'll pop it up here because if you don't have our app, and I'm talking about our news app, there's a QR code on your screen right now. If you're watching on your phone, it's going to be hard to scan this. But if you're watching on another device and you can scan this with your phone, this will take you to get the iPhone or Android device, app. In this app, the beauty of the app, and I'm going to tell you why for a couple of reasons. I told you about the notifications, but for me, we live stream everything, guys. Like right now, this stream, if you're not watching on the app, you're watching on YouTube, or if you're watching on Facebook, or you're watching our website, this is actually streaming on our app right now. We would have sent you a push notification and you could have watched this. So if there's a tornado warning tomorrow, guess what? You're going to get a push notification from us. You're going to click on it. It's going to take us right to a stream. You don't have to be in front of the TV. The days of living in our market, having cable TV or anything or satellite to watch us is over. You can actually watch the live stream from anywhere. And in severe weather, that's great because say what your power goes out, you can actually watch on your phone, especially if you're in your safe spot. And one of the things I like to do when you're in your safe spot is I also like to tell you when the coast is clear so you can get out. So it's great. You don't have to sit there and crank the TV up. Used to old days, you said, crank the TV up and go to your safe spot. Now you can watch us on your iPad, your phone, your Android device. It's great. It's a great tool. I use it all the time. And actually, when I'm outside and I want to watch our newscast, if I'm somewhere else and I want to pull up the newscast, I can watch all the newscasts. All the newscasts are streamed there as well. So you don't have to watch me on TV. You can watch us online. A lot of people do that. So let's go back to the map here of this setup. Another product that I'll keep a close eye on is this rotational track. Now, when I show this, a lot of people immediately think, oh, those are tornadoes. Not necessarily. It just means the storms would have potential to rotate. And the one thing I'll tell you, any storm that rotates, yes, it could produce a tornado, but rotating storms in general produce hail, strong winds, lightning, and sometimes flooding because a rotating storm can drive warm, humid air. It's like a screw. Think about righty-tighty, lefty-loosey. When the counterclockwise spin forces warm, humid air high in the sky, it causes all kinds of bad weather. So these tracks are important. I look for the number of them and the intensity of them to give me an idea. I don't look at the specific location. It's like, snowfall. It's not going to be that exact amount in your backyard. But if you do see a total somewhere within a couple counties, you got an idea that there could be some big snow somewhere. In this case, we're looking for the number of tracks. And if you look carefully, I'm going to pause this tomorrow afternoon around 2 o'clock. We've got a couple tracks showing up down to the south. Again, they're not very strong rotational tracks. They're on the low side, but there's a couple down to the south. Let's play this out a little bit further. By 3 o'clock, you can see south and east of Charlotte. Remember the area I highlighted earlier? Look where those rotational tracks are. Now, they're not going to be exactly there and exactly there. We're not that good. Trust me, we're not. That's not how this works. You generally think we're going to see something in there. If this was a golf course and then this was the hole and this was the green, I'm just trying to get it on the green here. So somewhere in here, we're looking for some strong storms tomorrow. I'll play this out a little bit further. Goes to the east. You can see notice how these areas, south and east of Charlotte, really were the areas where all of the guidance, again, it really looks to be this area. I'll circle it right in here. This is the area of tomorrow of probably greatest concern. So in the mountains and foothills, yeah, we're going to see strong winds with the cold front tomorrow. But I think from a severe weather standpoint, we're probably going to get pretty lucky here and not see a bunch of widespread severe weather in that area. I'll play this out the rest of the way, and you can see how this moves out pretty quickly. So this isn't going to be several waves. This should be in and out fairly quickly, and we should be done with it as it pushes through. So for everybody who joined late, I'm going to go back to the Futurecast one more time. I'll show you the current radar quickly. Here's the current radar. It pops up for a second. I got a little delay between my system. So there's the radar. That's the system. You see it trucking across parts of Alabama. I've been watching the radar diligently down there. There are several of these storms are rotating down there. I'm looking at the current warnings. I'm going to pull them up on another source here as I'm talking to you. But there are several warnings going on down there right now. Looking at, looks like mainly, my connection's really slow. I've got two tornadoes, it looks like three maybe, down in southern Mississippi. So the area just north of Biloxi is where we got, just above my name there on the bottom of the screen, is where we got some warnings. So let's show you the Futurecast one more time. for tomorrow, so this can help you time it out. I'll play this. Let me let it load up real quickly, and we'll go hour by hour. And again, the biggest risk is going to be that afternoon and evening time frame. So right now, 8 p.m., it's almost 9 p.m. I'll play this into the future here. We'll show you as this goes into the overnight hours. We are really wanting to see clouds and showers tomorrow morning because that would absolutely stabilize the atmosphere. It wouldn't remove the severe weather completely, but boy, would it reduce it pretty low. It would keep it low. And again, if you want to get worried about severe weather tomorrow, if you wake up and it's full on sunny and it feels muggy and hot out there, that's thunderstorm fuel. That's what these storms love to feed off of. If it's rainy and cloudy, even if it's a little muggy, that's okay. By 11 a.m., I expect the rain to really pick up. And again, there could be flash flooding because look how heavy this rain is. We're seeing that down in Mississippi. By about 1 o'clock to 2 o'clock, we see it really start to pick up. And you could see some of these cells south and east of Charlotte. You folks in the Midlands of South Carolina, all the way to the Sandhills of North Carolina, that's an area that I would be even more weather aware. There is definitely a higher risk there than areas to the west. By 7 p.m., the front's moving in. We start to see it all move out. So again, this isn't going to be an all day, all night thing. It's really around 1 p.m. to 6 p.m. I'm telling you, if we get past that time frame, it should be much better. And by the time we wake up Thursday morning, the cold front starts to push in and we start to see better weather ahead. So that's a quick recap of what's happening right now. Of course, I'm getting some new data, and tonight at 11 on WCNC Charlotte, I should have the latest information. I'm seeing I'm looking at my computer here. I'm seeing some of the new data beginning to roll in. It started calculating around 8 o'clock, but it takes till about 9:30, 10 to complete the runs. So we'll have that at 11. And again, if you're away from a TV, that same app I was preaching about, you can watch the 11 o'clock news on our phone. It is really, really useful. I have become a big fan of our app. Anywhere I go, I can watch the news. Just quickly scrolling through some of the questions here and some of the comments. Most people I see do not want to see a tornado, right? I get that. That's the thing you worry about. But remember, in our area, 90% of the damage is from straight line winds. So do not discount severe thunderstorm warnings because severe thunderstorm warnings can produce winds of 60 to 100 miles an hour. It's technically 58 and above, but I've seen severe thunderstorms cause more widespread damage than tornadoes. Remember, tornadoes are relatively small. They're intense. They're maybe a football field a width or shorter, whereas a severe thunderstorm can be the size of half the county and can end up causing more damage. Also, don't discount the flash flood threat tomorrow. Some of these storms will be producing a tremendous amount of rainfall, and that could cause some flash flooding. So there are other risks tomorrow. Those are a little bit easier to deal with, and I don't freak you out as much. But tornadoes get all the billing as they should. But we also want to be careful of severe weather tomorrow in general because of the strong wind fields in the atmosphere. The strong winds probably will end up being a bigger issue for some of us. And we saw some strong winds even without thunderstorms over the weekend, and kind of goes to show you how you can see some damage even with straight line winds that are non-thunderstorm winds. So thanks for joining me tonight. And again, tune in tonight at 11, whether you're online or at home. You can download that app. Emma in our digital team did a great job putting in the comment sections our download. You can go to WCNC.com. That's actually a great place to go if you want to go get the app directly. And it is available for Android or for iOS. So it is a great download to have, especially as we get into severe weather season. And remember, we're just entering the peak of the season. Mid-March to about mid-June is the peak of our season. So this is just the beginning. So everything we're doing tonight is just kind of a, for a low to medium risk, but we're going to have several more of these probably throughout the spring season. Have a great night, everybody, and I'll see you tonight at 11.